Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Secret Roots podcast. I'm really excited because today I have a beautiful from the inside out guest, Anne-Claire Meret. Anne-Claire, welcome to the Secret Roots podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today.
So I wanted to bring Anne-Claire on the podcast because, like I was telling her before we were recording this podcast, I met Anne-Claire a few weeks ago, actually, during a Balinese water cleansing event. And I was really touched by her loving energy. And it's someone that really lives from the heart. That's her main message. She's built a 7-figure business from the heart. She serves from the heart. She speaks her truth. And as you are going to experience in today's episode, you can just feel that heart centered energy coming out of her. And I think that's very inspiring for all of us women who also want to live heart centered. But sometimes we can get stuck into our heads, right? And our egos get in the way. And so this is something that we're going to talk about today. How can we live fully from the heart? How can we have boundaries from the heart? How can we build success from the heart? And truly honor who we are by living from the heart. So, Anne-Claire, why don't you introduce yourself and why don't you share with us how did you get to understand that that was the message that you wanted to spread with it, through your work and through your presence and your beingness?
Thank you. I would like to start by sharing that I was very touched by your light and your loving presence too when we met, and I feel somehow very close to you. Maybe because we share the same messages for the world. I feel that we're part of the same team, so thank you.
Yes, thank you for saying
For
that.
sure.
So tell us more about you.
I was not always living from the heart, and I was not always serving from the heart. I had a major life change in 2012. You know how people say it was supposed to be the end of the world in 2012? That was definitely the end of my world. Something happened that year. And I used to live in, have a very, I would say, conventional life in Paris. I had a job. I was working in corporate. I was working for a dating website and for a startup. And I have been suffering from insomnia and anxiety almost my whole life since I was a little girl, because I come from a dysfunctional family with a lot of anger, suicidal thoughts, alcoholism, many different things which are pretty heavy. And I was carrying all that wasn't mine, but I didn't really know it wasn't mine because I didn't go deep into therapy until I was 28, 29. I'm going to turn 40 soon. So it's quite a journey that I've been through the past 10 to 12 years. And in 2012, I've decided that it was enough, that I couldn't live like that my whole life, that it wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to others around me. And I went to a hospital and I asked them, I said, help me study my sleep and let me know what's wrong with me. Why can't I sleep and people can sleep? And I had, all the electrodes put on my head, and I did all the deep study, and they said they found nothing. So they sent me to a naturopath, a natural healer. And I've never heard about naturopathy before, although I was a curious person and I've been trying different things, but I've never heard about that word before. So I don't know where I was, but I was maybe in a bubble I didn't see, And so I was lucky enough that this hospital sent me to this beautiful woman, Dani, and she's specialized in sleep. So she has those groups of people who cannot sleep. And I did everything she said. I'm a very committed person. If I want something, then I'll commit to it and I'll do it. And I did. And after a few weeks and months, I could sleep. It was not perfect, but it was already much better than I've experienced my whole life. And I must admit that I will never be a person that can fall asleep everywhere, anytime, because that's who I am. I'm a light sleeper, but now I'm a good sleeper. I can go to bed and have a great night almost every night. It's not a problem anymore. So if people who listen to us suffer from insomnia, I want to tell them you can be an insomniac almost for 30 years and fix it. It's still possible.
Amazing.
And from that moment on, something shifted in me, I understood that I had the power over my health. And not only that, but I realized how my inner world was impacting my outer world. And until that point, I didn't know. It was the opposite. I thought that my outer world was impacting my inner world. And it kind of shifted things into the right place. That's
Yeah,
what happened.
absolutely. And then
Yeah.
how did that impact your career? When did you then decide, okay, I'm going to stop working for that dating app? If everything starts from within and I can create my dream life from within, where did you then go?
Well, I lost my job. I lost my
Okay.
job. I didn't plan to do something else. I got fired.
A
And
gift in disguise
that
from
was
the
for
universe.
me exactly a gift in disguise. But at that time, I didn't have the mindset that I have today. So
Yeah,
I was considering that I was a victim in the circumstances. So
of
it
course.
was like the whole world against me. And it took me a while to figure out that actually it was, yeah, a gift in disguise. But I've always been proactive. So I was looking for jobs and I couldn't find a proper job. So I started to have smaller jobs, to meet the ends, like really different jobs with my skills and talents and everything I was learning about naturopathy. Because after fixing my insomnia and anxiety, I started to study it. Like I went to school for 3 years and a half. And then with my new skills and my previous skills, I started to serve others around me. Oh, do you need my skills? Yeah, I need a little job. Please. It was a win-win situation. And I've lived like that for many years, just small jobs and from small jobs to small jobs. And then something happened, something really big, because I wanted to study Ayurveda and I joined a school for a year to understand the bigger differences between Indian medicine and European medicine, which is naturopathy. And this teacher, which was from Sri Lanka, super smart teacher, he wanted to write a book. And I told him, I said, I can be your assistant and I want to help you write that book. And I wrote with him the index and I went to send the proposal to publishing companies and they didn't want the book, but they liked meeting me. And one publisher said, oh, I like you. Why don't you write naturopathy for dummies? The black and yellow books. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like 32. You want to give me a big book? Just for me. I'm like a newbie in the naturopathy business, but they trusted me. And that was for me, an amazing example of what happens when you live from the heart and when you intend to serve. Because I wasn't there for myself. I was there because natural medicine helped me so much that I wanted to know about it. And I wanted to help another teacher to help the world. So I wanted to be of service of him and his message and just for the people. And suddenly doors started to open. And since then, it's been 8 years that the doors continue to open. And every time I'm just in awe with what is possible. So
Amazing.
I wrote 11 books in a few years. It has been serving a purpose of really sharing the message that you can be your own healer, which is my first why. Why do I do what I do? Then my first why is there are solutions out there and you can be empowered to be your own doctor. Obviously, you need specialists so that you can understand your condition and get to learn about it. But in the end, you are the one who knows for yourself. And that was really my first message. And then after a few years, something shifted because once you don't live anymore in pain, when you don't live anymore in drama land, that's how I call it, in the world of drama land, you want to do something with your life, which is meaningful. And there is something happening which is like leveling up. It's like suddenly your whole world, you shift dimension. Your relationships are better. The prosperity is better. The way you live, your choices, everything is better. And then it just lifted up, I met coaching, and I understood this is all about the way you perceive yourself and the way you are in the world, because we are powerful creators. And then I understood that I'm no longer a drama queen. I feel great. I feel connected to my heart and aligned with who I am in this world. And I'm going to give my best and help the others to give their best. And this is
Mhm.
when my why shifted, and it shifted for live from the heart and contribute from the heart, really serve the world from the heart.
I love that. Thank you for sharing and sharing your backstory, because I think it's always very inspiring to hear people's story and understand why they are where they are at. I'd love to know, really, on that path of living from your heart and serving from your heart, what are some of the challenges that you faced and some of those moments where you asked yourself, is it really possible to live completely from my heart?
Yeah. Oh, many times. There was the money part, which was a challenge for me, because just like a lot of people, I thought that if you serve from the heart, if you are a spiritual person, then it's not compatible with making money. And I had that for a long time. Also, coming from France, where everything is reimbursed when you need something, uh, being like an outsider of the medical system, having a naturopathic business, EFT business, coaching business, selling online programs and stuff, I had to work on the legitimacy piece. If I don't have a diploma from the state, who am I to build people for healing? And if I have those skills, should I even build people for those skills, because they're gifts given to me that should be passed on without any money? And I struggled with that quite a lot until I understood that abundance is a birthright, and that because the world is upside down and everything has been twisted, then I was perceiving it with the wrong lenses. And it took me a while of deconditioning, a lot of programs and coaching and understanding my value, who I
Mm,
am and my worth. And yeah, it's still work in progress, although I've done quite a long journey, because I could make 1 million from the heart with my company last year. It's not only me. We are now a team of 12. So bless my team, because I couldn't do everything that I do by myself, obviously. But I'm very proud that we were able to do that. It means a lot has shifted within the last 10 years. Yeah,
definitely.
that's
I
a big
love that
one.
you share that, because that's a belief that I think most of us have at some point. It's like, well, I cannot just be paid to be myself. This comes naturally to me. And we think that because
Yeah.
it's natural, it should be free, and because it's natural, everybody can do it. But what comes really, really easy to us is actually really, really hard for other people. And it comes easy to us because we are meant to serve with that gift. We are meant to help each other. We are meant to teach it to others and support others. And like you said, it's really this whole relationship that we have with money. But first of all, people don't understand that they have a relationship with money. So for you that's listening, you have a relationship with money. You need to take care of that
Yeah.
relationship. And if you don't take care of it because you're not even aware that you have one, the chances that it's completely upside down is really high. And then we have this idea that we need to give our time, we need to give our gifts for free, we need to pay for the things that we can't do, and it's keeping us stuck, really. So I love that you shared that, and that came up in your life and you had to journey through that, because money is just love when we think about it. I always tell that to my clients. If you love the croissant at the bakery, you're going to buy it. So money is going to symbolize that love. And if there's a new bakery that's opening closer to your home, the croissants are delicious, but the baker woman or baker man is horrible, never smiles, he's always complaining. You're never going to go back to that bakery because there's no love, there's no passion. And so I love that you brought money and living from the heart together on your own journey, because they're really just one and the same energy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you for
You're
using the word love, because I recently did a master class about abundance and I had the people speak up, like loud, saying, I love money and money loves me back. And
welcome.
that was tough for a lot of people. It took me
Yeah,
a while to be able to say, I love money without any shame or guilt, because
yeah,
I do love money, I love it. And money loves me back. And
absolutely.
that's a big piece when you're able to do that, to restore the
Yeah,
flow.
yeah. Because it's just that it's money is that feminine energy that wants to flow in, that wants to flow out, that wants to support you. Actually, in my folder, on my laptop, when I have all my things organized, my folder that is all around money, instead of labeling it finances, it's called Money Loves Me. So every day
Voilà.
when I have to do an invoice or when I have to take care of my finances, I see that sentence, money loves me. And I'm like, yes, and we love each other and we dance and we play and we flow and she supports me in my dreams. And I get to support money as well, because by opening ourselves to
Yeah.
receive, we allow money to flow. And that's all money wants to do. She just wants to come into our lives. She wants to flow. She wants to show us how loved we are, because deep down, that's also something that took me a while to understand, is that we have the impression that money is coming from people or from the state when they refund us some taxes, or from, when we receive money from someone, we think it comes from a person, but truly it comes from source. And how much can we open ourselves to receive the love of the divine
Yeah.
expressed through money,
This
right?
is exactly how I see it too. Yeah. Yeah. There is a great book I recently read. It's called It's Not Your Money, from
Yes,
Tosha
from
Silva.
Trisha Silver, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's a
I
great
loved
book.
it because this is exactly it. And I never considered that it was mine in the sense of, grasping it. It's about allowing it to meet me and to circulate through me, through the projects, and then to be shared back into the world. There's this deep understanding that none of this is mine, but I'm a great caretaker, so I take
Yeah,
care of it.
yeah. I love that. You plant money and then it makes more money. You cultivate it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, I would love to hear about your journey with love and really living from the heart and having boundaries, because that is something that I see so, so much around me and in women in general. We want to be generous, we want to be there for others, and we have such a natural tendency to put everyone before ourselves, which means that we usually don't have any boundaries. And we have this tendency to believe, well, I am so loving, so I give so much, so I don't need to have boundaries. But eventually, we end up completely burnt out or disrespected or maybe even abused. And so I would love to hear your perspective of how boundaries and love are connected to each other.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I would like to share that
Don't
first.
worry,
And I
me too.
think this is the case for a lot of women, but not only women, also men can suffer from it. But I feel that there are more women because we have this good girl syndrome, that we want to be a good person and we don't want to make big waves and be too loud and with our preferences and everything. So we tend to shy and just don't impose what we prefer and everything. So it just let people just take more space. So this is a learning. So I've been in therapy for the past 10 years and I'm still working on that specific topic, that what are my needs, what do I prefer, and how can I speak my truth while feeling safe. And this is a journey, really. I found it helpful to surround myself with kind-hearted people. I've done a lot of trainings, I've done a lot of training in natural medicine and then in coaching. And every time I met great people, I choose to have them in a closed circle. So then step by step, the people from my past were just pushed back to the second circle or third circle. So I kind of included more people who have more awareness and more communication skills because they were trained in coaching and things like that. So this is a conscious choice of choosing to surround myself with people with whom I feel safer than before my
Mm.
shift. And within this circle, I could, train my capacity of sharing what I prefer and who I am, and understand that I can be loved the way I am without having to transform my personality or over adapt to circumstances and people, and see that it was okay. Yeah. For example, I don't like to go out at night. I don't like to drink. Um, Many things about me can be particular for a lot of people. And the people who really are kind-hearted and can understand that I have my differences and just respect them, those are my people. And now that I'm able to do it with them, I kind of build up my muscle of courage. And then outside of that, I'm able now to speak my truth because I know this is right with the right people. And then it might be uncomfortable with other kind of people, and that's okay because we have our differences, and whatever they think about me is not the truth. It's just their projection of the way they see me, and I'm not responsible for the way they see me. And
Yeah.
obviously I'm still afraid of losing the connection with certain people when I tell my truth. But I must say that COVID helped me a lot because during COVID times, during the COVID time, I was in Berlin, and I really didn't have a good time being in Germany with the people who are very close-minded and really following the rules from the television and everything, and not open to other kind of ways of healing and perceiving health and everything. And I had to speak my truth. There was this big fire inside of me. Like, yeah, I have to participate in that. I have to tell them there are many ways to heal. And it was an interesting time because I had no doubt that speaking my truth was right. And at the same time, it was one of the first time that I had a pushback. People were really upset at me. And at that time, I realized that it was more important to me that I was able to stay in my truth than to please the people around me. And that was a big learning. And just for that, I thank this big crisis in the world because that made me stronger in
Yeah.
where I am. And it helped me find the people who also had the same point of view. We found each other. And that's is very important. When you express your preferences, you find your people. If you don't, you never find your people. You always feel like you are not understood by your environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like the story of the ugly duckling who thinks she's a duck and she's surrounded by all those ducklings and she looks different. And so everybody is mocking her, but she's not daring to spread her wings. And so eventually she's just walking out, walking away because she's pushed away by the ducks. And one day she realizes, looking down into the lake, that she's a swan and that she looks like those beautiful white birds that are flying in the sky. And so it's so important for us who have our own preferences, who have these strong personalities, who have these visions, who are also empathic and highly sensitive. It's really important for us to find our tribe of swans so that we can see where we belong, recognize each other, actually really truly see ourselves. Because deep down, it's one of the biggest quests of humans. It's answering the question, who am I and who did I come here to be? And so I love that you shared that because it's such a core teaching of mine as well. It's be authentic, be yourself, because that's how your people are going to recognize you. And then you can dance and party and speak your truth as much as you want with them, and they're going to love you even more for it, which is really
Exactly.
cool. Yeah, but it definitely comes with releasing the fear of rejection and the fear of not fitting in and not belonging. And this really leads me to my next question, because fear and love are really often opposites. And launching and running a 7-figure business, let's be honest, it comes with risks, it comes with fear, it comes with challenges. So, how did you manage these moments of being a woman entrepreneur, having a big vision? How did you manage fear by still staying in your heart and living from the heart?
Yeah, I can I can start with an example of my biggest fear, which is being
Mhm.
seen. Before writing my first book, I was not on social media and my name was not on the internet because I was very much afraid of this big monster internet. So I was not out there at all. And I'm very much an introvert and I don't speak in groups. I'm just a simple, discreet person. And when I had the book, I wanted to talk about it and I wanted to be of service of the message. And I understood that the publishing company wouldn't do too much efforts because the person in charge of the PR, she had hundreds of books, and she would not be able to specifically talk about our book, in details because she didn't know. So it was bigger than me. I had to understand that if I wanted this book to be successful and to touch a lot of people, I had to put myself out there. And that's my main fear that I've had for years. And step by step, I had to just get out of the woods and just shine, it's a journey because now I'm not so much afraid. I'm more and more confident speaking in the camera and, just recording videos and everything, but it's not 100% yet. Yeah, this is a big message for me because I know that a lot of people now, they compare themselves and they go online and they say, oh, Eleanor or Anne-Claire, they're so confident. But it's a journey. It's not something that we are born with. It's because we've decided to work on the fear and just go to conquer it. Really to just step by step see that, oh, I've made a video. I'm not dead. I'm still there. It's fine. Maybe tomorrow I'll do another. And
Absolutely. I love that you share that, because that's such a big fear that we have from women. It's we're afraid of being seen, and literally it's
yeah,
it's a karmic fear, it's a transgenerational fear. It's very old. It comes from those witch hunts where it was like physically dangerous for us to be seen in our gifts, in our power, in our beauty. We just had to
yeah,
hide, and it was like visceral. And I think I've never shared that actually on the podcast. So I'll share the story of why I am so comfortable on stage, because you're right. People sometimes compare themselves. And it took me my whole life of training to be so comfortable. And I actually love it right now. I think I was also pretty natural at it, but it was a lot of practice. So my father, when I was a child, was writing a lot of poems. And because he wanted to share his poems with the world, but he didn't want to like recite his poems himself, he would teach me his poems. And so it was a great practice for me to practice my memory, because I had to remember them. I still remember them now because I have repeated them so many times. And then when my parents' friends would come home, I would have to recite his poems in front of his friends, because it was his moment of glory. His poetry could be out in the world. And then it was a second moment of glory because he could show his little 7, 8, 9-year-old Eleanor, who would then speak in front of all their friends and share a very cute poem. And it was always poems with animal. It was really inspired by the Fable de la Fontaine. If you don't know the Fable de la Fontaine, it's a classical in French literature. It's all poems based on animals with like a lesson in it. And I did that so many times. You have so many videos and pictures of me doing that as a kid with my sister as well, that I loved it. I started loving it. And so I started doing theater. I did more than 8 theater plays. And in my last job before launching my business, as a healer and a spiritual teacher, I was actually giving presentations all around Belgium, talking about crowdfunding, how to raise money as a startup. So basically, I've been speaking my whole life since I can remember. And like you said, our egos have a tendency to be like, oh, she's so confident. I wish I was like her. But of course, there are moments where you are nervous, but you just learn to deal with it. And like you said, you're like, oh, well, that didn't go so bad. And I didn't die. And I'm still in one piece. And even if people don't like it, it's still okay. Because the truth is that not everybody will like what you say, the way you say it, even the way you're dressed when you say it, even if it has nothing to do with what you're saying. There will always be people who criticize, right? How do you manage that living from the heart? Because I'm sure that you have experienced that as well in your business.
Yes, and I still do. I thank very much Brené Brown for that. She has a beautiful sentence. She says, "I only take criticism from people who are in the arena," and I agree
Mm,
with that. I would only take critics or suggestions from people who are also showing up. And when you see actually online, 99% of the people who are critical of what you do, they're hiding behind a photo of a flower and they don't have their name and they're not themselves outside, like just showing up for what's important to them. They're just hiding. I imagine them, on their couch with like potato chips in their pajamas and just scrolling and thinking, who am I going to critic today? And then I'm just like, oh, okay, that's just this girl again. Well, I don't take it. Just move on.
yeah. I think it's also a lesson of compassion because like you said earlier, people, the way they perceive you has more to do with themselves. It has nothing to do with who you are and who you're being. It's a projection that they have on you. And so if we follow this idea that we are all mirrors for each other, when people criticize you, they're actually really criticizing themselves. And so I always, the first moment when you read something, you're like, oh, that's not really nice. And then I always remind myself, oh, wait, we are mirrors for each other. This has nothing to do with me. And so transforming that criticism into actually compassion for them and then releasing it, I think has been really potent for me personally. And I'm sure that you living from the heart is also something that you do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same for people who adore us. For the people
Yeah.
who are just put us on a pedestal, who say, "Oh, you're so amazing." They're just projecting something too. It's because they can then reach their own amazingness. And then they
Yeah.
think, "Oh my God, this exists in the world." Because they just love it because it's part of them. So it's
Yeah.
also a great opportunity to bring them into their own greatness.
Yeah, I love that you added that because it's so true. Which is why when we receive a compliment, we can always say thank you, but really, again, it has more to do with themselves.
Yeah.
I love that. So, for anyone, for any woman that has a business that is on that path of being her most authentic self and she wants to be more in her truth and live more from the heart, what concrete exercise or first steps would you give them if she was like, Anne-Claire, I want to live more from my heart. I want to drop from my head into my body. Where do I even begin?
The answer is very simple: presence. This is
Mm,
the main ingredient in my recipe and in every successful recipe, I believe. It's really presence to the moment and presence to just in terms of being able to drop inside of yourself, just be still and listen what wants to be flowing through you. So this is not an easy thing to do, especially today with the amount of distractions that we have outside. Also, I have to acknowledge that usually when we want to start a business, it's because there is something which, like a spark, we're like excited about something that we want to share with the world. And then when it actually becomes a business, you know, like at the beginning everything is flowing because there is so much passion and we're marveling at everything and there are synchronicities and everything, and then we make it a business. So we build systems and we make things structured in a way that it's repeatable. We can repeat it. We just make it happen again, and then we can fall into the trap of rigidity. And this is a pitfall that we must avoid by staying present. And it's a dance between being present to the flow and what wants to be birthed through us, and still bringing this masculine energy of structure. And I have the gift of being pretty balanced in my masculine and feminine energy. It's quite natural to me because I'm a very soft person, very welcoming and everything, but I'm also very driven. And I have this fire which makes me want to achieve things. So it's something that I have within me which helped me be successful. And sometimes women have to work on those energies, because I can see a lot of women who are too flowy, like, woo woo, yeah, it will happen when the moon is right and when things are right. But then they don't really decide with their free will, and they don't really put action and structure which is needed. And on the other hand, I see also women who fall too much into their masculine and into this rigidity, and it must happen this way because this is how I picture it. And then they lose the flow and they're not inspired anymore, and they cut themselves from synchronicities and the magic and everything. So it's really a dance between both. But I know you're helping women with that too.
I love that you just said that, because I think it's I wouldn't say it's the purpose of whole life, but it is present in everything. That balance, that dance between, yes, I have boundaries and also I have an open heart. Yes, I have fear and still I'm gonna do it. Yes, I am flowy, but still I have structure that allows me to flow. Yes, I am a businesswoman, but I can also sometimes relax and drink my cocktail on the beach, right? I think it's just something that is present in everything because we live in a world of polarity and duality. And if we can always come back to our center, come back to that presence and feel, okay, where am I in balance? Where am I too much in my head? How can I come back to my presence? Simply by coming back into my body, coming back into my breath, coming back into my feet, reconnecting with the earth. And just that awareness on its own can make such a huge, huge difference. Do you have like a daily practice that brings you in your body, that brings you in your heart?
Yes, this is something that's been taught by one of my coaches, Regan Healia. She's a very
You work
successful
with vegan.
Australian coach.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love her. She's great.
from New Zealand. She's wonderful, and I've been in her containers for the past 3 years, and she's really an amazing being. For me, she's from elsewhere. She's from
Yeah,
another planet,
I
totally
agree.
embodied in this body to teach this wisdom. She's from somewhere else. And she has this beautiful centering practice, which I've just adapted to myself so that it's easy to me. And I just take the time to just breathe, close my eyes, and then I ground myself. And I imagine that I have a pillar of light connecting myself to the center of the earth. And then I do the same with the top of my head. I imagine that I'm connected to a divine star, a planet, a galaxy, wherever it is. I don't have especially words for it. It's just more of an inner knowing that I'm also connected to the divine, to a special space in the galaxy. And that's, I'm fine with that. I'm not specifically, I wish I were in the past more of an intuitive person, which has, connection with angels and the subtle worlds and everything. And I'm okay with where I am at right now, which I don't talk to light beings and things like that. And I'm okay. I believe they talk to me, for example, through my dreams and just infuse ideas through my heart. And I
Yes, they
don't
do.
necessarily need to see them to know that they're there.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah, they speak to
so
you
I
through your
do
dreams.
this centering.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that practice. I just wanted to add, yes, they speak to you through your dreams for sure. Also through other people, sometimes through a bird singing on your balcony, through, I mean, our guides and light beings are speaking to us in many, many, many different ways. But I guess that's a topic for another day. And Claire, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. It's been such a pleasure to have your soft but driven energy on the podcast. All of you listeners, I will put the links in the show notes of this episode where you can reach out to her, where you can connect with her, follow her on Instagram, sign up to her coaching programs. She has EFT programs as well. She is such a beautiful soul. Read her books. They're all in French for now, but she's translating some of them in English. So for all of you, my French and Belgian listeners, follow her because she's such a light in this world and you are going to love her teachings. Thank you so much for inviting me in your private space, for creating the time for Anne-Claire and I to have this really sweet and potent chat. And I will see you in next week's episode. Bye bye.